me the motherfucking money now. Now. Hurry up. Now. Hurry up. Now. Hurry up. Give me the money.
When we first designed Lens, one of the things that really troubled us was how could we help officers in dangerous situations, in particular those involving fugitives. The problem that I have with the way it is right now is that officers, when they're looking for fugitives, they'll go around, they'll find out where a fugitive tends to stay, who their associates are, what they drive, maybe where their financial support comes from. They'll identify all this information, place it into a file, but it's not readily accessible to anybody, in particular to the patrol officer. The patrol officer gets a call to an address, they're just going to that address to respond to whatever's going on there. They don't have time to get inside a records management system at that department, read through everything in your fugitive file, and identify that as a dangerous location. Next step that's available to them is to put that individual in NCIC. Okay, they'll list them in there by driver's license, social security number, date of birth. The solution being, if patrol happens to come across that individual, that person is now caught. That's not safe for the officer. They're counting on that officer to just blindly come across this individual, identify him, and then arrest him. That's a very dangerous situation, and we felt like there had to be something in Lens that would help us create a little more distance between that dangerous individual and the officer. Well, we figured out how to do that. With Lens, those analysts, after doing all that legwork and identifying addresses, identifying associates, identifying vehicles, after they've done all that, they could create subject packets on each one of those individual items. So now, if those particular subjects are encountered, they're identified as being associated with that fugitive, and they could also have the picture of the fugitive attached to that. So if an officer comes across a location, if an officer comes across a vehicle that is associated with that fugitive, they know better, or they know more clearly what they're looking at, and they also have a picture of that fugitive to go by to better protect themselves in that situation. In Shreveport, we had an officer who was recently killed. Lens could have stopped this from happening by arming that officer with critical information that detectives had already identified. The officer was responding to a prowler call at an address. He knew no more about that address than that he had a call for service that he had to go address. When he approaches the address, he goes up to the door, encounters someone inside the house. After a brief exchange, the individual inside pulls a gun and shoots him. The officer ends up being killed in this exchange. Had this officer had the benefit of being able to query Lens, that officer would have known that this was a suspected fugitive associate location. That would have immediately increased his level of alert, heightened his awareness that this was a dangerous situation, and he could have made the decision at that point to not even enter the residence alone. The other thing that Lens does that would have helped this situation and protect this officer is it can send an alternate notification to a backup unit. So when this address was queried and it showed that it was a suspected fugitive associate location, that alternate notification could have also gone out to a K-9 unit or to another backup unit in that officer's district, and they could have responded together to that location so that the officer wouldn't have been in a one-on-one situation with the fugitive. The other thing that Lens would have done is it would have provided the officer with a picture. Whenever that confirmation response is received for that suspected fugitive associate location, the officer would have also received a photo of the fugitive. So when he did approach the door and he did see the individual inside, he would have recognized that individual as the fugitive, and he would have immediately reacted differently than just a casual encounter with an unknown person. That's a much safer scenario for that officer to be able to effect the arrest of a fugitive that is not available in current systems. Lens does that for law enforcement. It allows that communication. It allows you to get the information that officer needs and extend that gap between that officer, or I should say extend the distance between that officer and the danger by giving him the information that he needs to identify those dangers ahead of time.